welcome to episode 8, issue 18. After 18 issues, I'm still calling it an episode.
Get the nomenclature right.
Yeah, the Hobbyhammer vodcast. I'm joined today, as ever, by Miles.
Hello. Thank you for doing the intro again. I cannot stand doing the intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the vodcast, the issue.
Yeah.
What are we doing this week?
Well, we're halfway through a discussion, which is why I desperately started recording, on Indroid Harl. We're also going to be doing part 2 of Primarch's, Sanguinary Guard, and Necromunda news. So, quickly, Indroid Harl, because we were halfway through this discussion, I was like, no, it needs to be it needs to be in the issue. You were saying...
What's the obsession?
Yeah, what is the obsession with Indroid Harl? Like, I suppose it's more narratively than actual model-wise, because as we were saying, like the Games Workshop model is nice, and there's alternative models that are absolutely excellent, but I don't feel as compelled by the character as you seem to be.
You know, weirdly, it's one of those things that's grown on me. So, Bolter Jugend, I believe that's... Hold on, let me actually get the correct pronunciation of that.
Okay.
Yes, Bolter Jugend. He's done a phenomenal sculpt, not just one sculpt, but like 3 versions of the character. One based on a piece of artwork, and 2 just off his own back. And they're nice, they're big, they're chunky. I mean, you could print them whatever scale you like, but the scale it comes in, it's quite big. So you're able to do a lot more with it. And I found I was able to do a lot more with the Games Workshop miniature because of the scale. So there's a painting video going up this weekend, a complete masterclass on Indroid Harl. And I actually painted the armor in the same way that I'd approach a tank. It's exactly the same techniques because the larger... So from a modeling and painting perspective, great. It's a larger surface area to work with. They're both pretty good. I mean, the Bolter Jugend sculpts are out of this world, but the Games Workshop one's pretty decent as well. Good expression on the face, good armor panels.
I saw a video of you filling in the armor panels as well. So, and what do you mean by you were painting it as a tank rather than an infantry? The approach, just in general. I don't need to be specific.
You'll have to watch the video to find out.
Oh, Miles, don't do this. No, you don't have to be specific. But what do you mean, like the volumes, or like how extreme you were going with the contrast?
Exactly. So the amount of weathering and the amount of detailing you could bring on a smaller surface, you could only bring a certain level of detail to it because your eye and the camera just won't pick up on it. And you know, it's like in this age, like you're flicking through things, it's just that instant snap take, and it's gone. So having that larger surface just means you can do things like weathering around the greaves of the armor. So it goes from a solid color into like more of a muted gray khaki. You can do dot modulation with oil paints with it to give more variation to the tones. You could do a lot more weathering with it, like the oil streaks. There's a larger surface, it gives you a larger canvas, means you could detail it more without losing the definition of the piece.
Right.
So from a modeling perspective, they are just really fun miniatures to deal with, really great miniatures to deal with. And you can approach them in so many different ways, with a brush, with an airbrush, mixture, but take a sponge. I mean, you see a lot of people just, there's this new technique, people are just using sponge to just sponge the hell out of the miniatures, or something like this, looks great. But when I was researching the lore section of this, I'm kind of falling in love with this character because it's this classic golden era heresy thing where you scratch the surface and there's layers underneath. I mean, Alan Bly, hate to hark on this, but that guy was just an absolute genius. And they only really it came to me when I was reading the materials again, that he was one of the first initiates into the 12th Legion. He was known, but he also underwent biological experimentation before he became a warhound. So there's the theory, or like a deep state theory, there was actually a Thunder Warrior before, or some manner of hybrid of both. Maybe he was a Proto-Astartes, because he's a lot larger than normal Astartes, he's a lot more robust, a lot stronger. So there is that theory, he's either a Thunder Warrior, a Proto-Astartes, just some manner of weird hybrid creature.
And they've just managed to get him to not go psycho after an amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, with the Warhounds, he was part of the first initial intake on Terra, put through the lunar labs to create the Astartes. And for the most part, he was sequestered away from the Legion, so he didn't have the nails drilled into him. So there's just a lot of fascinating. I mean, there's also fascination with traitor characters that stayed loyal. There's the fascination of exactly who this character was, where he comes from, what his origins were. And there's also fascination with kind of like the proto-legions as well. So the Warhounds that morphed into the Eaters of Worlds. There's just lots of layers to this character that weren't immediately off. And he has one of the best audio dramas as well, where he visits a planet and he visits an old World Eater apothecary. And it's a great audio drama. It's just one of those characters that is intriguing.
Okay, I'll try and listen to... I've got one, because I've still not managed to watch Barbarian. If I listen to that audio drama this week, and I'll do it this week, will you listen or start reading Riders of the Dead?
Oh, right.
Because we promised that we'd read and do a book review of Riders of the Dead, actually, a bit ago. As possibly the best.
Is it on audio or is it book
I think
only?
it might just be book, but it recently got the Black Library Book of the Year or something like that.
I'll track it down. I'm looking
thing.
for a new book at the moment. Yeah, I'm looking for a new book at the moment. So yes,
the best fantasy novel, I would say, of them all. But
it's quite slim pickings in that universe for good novels.
Gotrek and Felix is very... I love Gotrek.
It's of its time, right?
Yeah, but it's also slightly... It definitely appealed to me, because it's William King, who is great for writing books for, like... It really got me into it when I was, like, 12 to 14. And I still love going back and reading them. Their entry... I want to say... This sounds like an insult to William King and William King's writing. Entry-level books. But it's something that...
I know exactly what you mean.
That was simple, easy to read.
Yeah, I love his Tyrion and Teklos novels. I think it's a trilogy he did on them. They feel like they're extensions from the army books. Because I'm pretty sure he did all the background lore with the original High Elf books.
Oh, right.
So he took that base story and then he made a novel out of them. No, they're very easy to read. They're simple, like swords and sorcery style fantasy. But that's all you need. So I think with some Black Library authors, I'll tell that he's never going to watch this. Nick Kime, you can tell he's very obviously very well educated. He understands what goes into a good novel. But I don't feel as engaged with his writing because I don't think that's where his strength... Like as an editor, I think he's phenomenal. But reading his prose, it doesn't quite work for me. So there's a difference. I mean, oh God, I wish I could remember the critic's name. He said that he could understand how to get from he understands the correlation between A to B, but he doesn't understand how to get there as a storyteller. William King knows how to tell a story. He knows how to have engaging prose. He knows how to create a fun fantasy story. And, sometimes that's all you need. Riders of the Dead, I'll track it down, I will read it.
And Riders of the Dead, Abnett book, so that it's just that bit more Warhammer rather than classic fantasy.
I've been going through the back library of Black Library because after the Heresy, I got nothing to read now. I'm barren. I'm devout. Oh my God, what do I do? So I've been going back over the back history. I started reading Brothers of the Snake. Have you ever read that book?
I recommended Brotherhood of the Snake to you. We were meant to do it. This is where the the idea for us to do audio book or book reviews came from.
I'm having a hard time with it, Max. I'm having a real hard time with it.
So good. You don't like it?
It's of its time, right?
You just got to wallow. You got to wallow in it, man.
I think that's it.
Just roll around in that early 2000s sort of storyline.
Yeah, that's why. Because I've just come off the Horus Heresy, which is a little bit more structured. I've just started rereading Armageddon by ADB, and I'm going back to that. It's very early Black Library fiction, where this world is coming under attack by Dark Elder Raiders, and the Iron Snakes chapter dispatch one Space Marine to fight them, and this is the scene where I've kind of like drifted away from the book, where he gets in the speeder with his concierge.
This is right at the start of the chapter, right?
Yeah, this is right at the start of the book.
And
but he's having a discussion with her. Yeah, and the dog. Like, he's bringing the dog with him. Like, oh, if the dog doesn't do what I say, and like he's very caring over this human life. Whereas I guess I'm more used to Space Marines seeing the wider picture of the Imperium, that the individual doesn't matter. If she dies, there's a million to replace her. I gotta do what I gotta do. And the fact he's having the conversation and he's like caring after her. It's too much of a presentation of like the Space Marines as the good guys. Again, nothing wrong with it at all. There's nothing wrong. It's just I'm so used to a different style of presentation of Space Marines now that it's jarring going back to the early stuff and reading it.
I would say that it's not, in fact, that he cares about her, because so Miles is talking about a bit where it's the person in charge. It's like not the dog's body of the ruler, but it's the person that gets stuff done.
Yeah, she's just
the obligations,
it's like a special envoy
of the Iron Snakes to that world, that they will that they will clear out the world, defend the world, and demonstrate that it's been cleared out. So it's not that he cares specifically about her life, it's that is her construing that from, actually he needs to use her to demonstrate that the area has been cleared and her to witness that. That's what I took from that. Anyway, ladies. Riders of the Dead.
The Snake.
Fantasy.
I think I'm going to drift away from that one and get into Riders of the Dead, the much superior Riders of the Dead instead. Okay.
Well, we'll see if you insult my choice next time. Yeah.
Should we talk about news? What's happened this week? What's happened this week?
Well, I'll let you go with it. I'll let you go with it. The Sanguinary Guard.
Sanguinary Guard, yeah, right. So since day dot of the Horus Heresy, I knew that. So the first weekender I went to, oh God, I think it was book 3 was being released. And I knew that Blood Angels would be coming relatively soon.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know the background on that, they were not coming soon.
No, they were not coming. They were not. In fact, they were not coming soon. But I thought, I'm a pretty slow painter when it comes to my own stuff. I will develop this project over a couple of years, and when I go to events like the Horus Heresy Weekender, I'll be able to showcase my wares. This is me as a miniature painter. Would you like a commission? That was the idea behind it. So, and when I think we talked about this last week, it might have been off air, but when I thought of the Horus Heresy at the time, there wasn't the abundance of information there is now. There are a few scenes, there are a few clashes that really stuck out to me. When I thought Horus Heresy, that first Inkblot test, Rorschach test, that first thing that struck my mind, Istvan, Talon, the scene where Sanguinius is taken on Horus, because I'm a big lover of the Angels of Death Codex. And there was something about the angel's sacrifice, even knowing he was going to die and still fulfilling his function against an enemy that he could not overcome. There was just, it was the weak against the mighty. It was David versus Goliath. But Goliath very much won this conflict. There was just something in that story that always resonated with me as a child. I wanted to play on that later on. And you know what? Blood Angels are really cool to paint. Lots of red, lots of gold, lots of black. Awesome. It allows me to build up the infantry. So by the time that Forge will come to do a Sanguinary Guard kit in the likes of the Phoenix Terminator set or the Palatine Blades, oh my God, they're just staring. Geez, are we going to get Sanguinary Guard like this? I can't wait. So flip forward, 10 years later? Yeah,
over 10 years later. That's a very negative way of saying this.
Over 10 years later, we do get rules for the Sanguinary Guard. Now, as far as I can understand, the Sanguinary Guard rules seem decent. And I mean, I haven't played in a couple of years, but they seem decent enough. They very much play off the Dawnbreaker type of mold.
I would say, Miles,
Tell me.
are not worth taking at all.
Oh, what? Why not?
Because, so say, like, a Perdition Blade sadly aren't in the best position at the moment.
Okay.
If you want to nuke AP3 units, they're good, but many things can nuke AP3, like save 3 up units.
Mm-hmm.
Because Perdition weapons have AP3 and the rending value on the sword is only 6+, they bounce off any 2-up save unit.
Mm-hmm.
The axes, which are the AP2 option for the squad, don't trade well versus someone's Power Fist or Thunderhammer, even because you're not doubling something out with that with that Brutal 2. Like, that's when Brutal is really scary, when you double stuff out. Make them take 2 saves on their invulnerable, they only have to fail 1 and they're dead. So then you only need 1 set of attacks to kill the model. Sadly, they don't have like a load of attacks. They've got the 2. And then they can get a couple more if Sanguinius is on the table and dies. But I don't think they've got enough attacks to trigger. I think it's more a problem with Perdition weapons as much as it's a problem with this squad. Whereas Dawnbreakers have the rending, I'm going to say 4-up, but 5-up. 5-up with the spears being reach 1 as well. Is just triggers much more often.
So the Sanguinary Guard don't have access to Perdition spears?
And they've got Perdition spears, but the Equinox blades and Spear of Dawn-breaking Ringness are just much better weapons.
Okay.
And the Paragon Blade access 1 in 5, only getting 2 per squad, I just don't think is enough to compete with other high-end elite.
Sure. Do you feel like you'd be hamstringing yourself if you took this unit? Do you feel like you'd be putting yourself at a disadvantage taking this unit over, say, like a regular command squad?
I would use... What I'd do is I'd make my Sanguinary Guard models, and then I'd use them as Dawnbreakers.
Okay.
Because Dawnbreakers are excellent.
Fair enough.
So he's sort of in the position... I'm sorry to shit on the release of Sanguinary Guard, but I think that's the sad position we're in.
Sure. I mean, if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's been that problem with how would you represent the Sanguinary Guard in game, because they aren't like Justarian, where they're known for their brutality. They aren't like Red Butchers. They aren't Palatine Blade. They're just sort of like a generic bodyguard unit.
Yeah.
But how do you represent that? Unless you're going to give them like weapon skill 5, like what makes them unique? What makes them stand out over, say, Dawnbreakers? Say, I don't know. I mean, just a cursory glance at the rules. I think they're good insofar as that they don't break the game. They don't change the overall meta at all. It's a bit like the new characters coming out, that they just give like slight advantages over like a normal Praetor.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is what I want. Okay, should we talk about the modeling opportunities?
Yeah.
Yes. So released on the Games Workshop website, they got a couple of YouTube. They got Cult of Paint and SN Battle Reports. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. To do mock-ups of them. There seems to be like this furore over them that Games Workshop instructed them, you must only use these miniatures to sell our miniatures. I don't think it's as like conspiratorial as that. I think that Games Workshop knew they were releasing a Sanguinary Guard set. They contacted people and said, would you mind using this set with this? That you can do whatever you want. You don't have to feel like these are the official models, because they aren't by any stretch of the imagination. They don't reflect the lore. They don't reflect any of the background history. They don't reflect any of the images we've seen. The miniatures those guys have produced just look like regular Assault Marines but painted gold. But that's fine for the brief that they were given.
Yeah.
For your own Sanguinary Guard, you could go as crazy as you like. You can use the 40k version if you want, because they're pretty similar to the representations we've seen in 30k. I've done a couple of conversions.
Death mask, isn't it? Like that's
Other than the death mask,
the main
yes.
difference, which you could just use. Like I've pulled up the picture of your conversions using the
Yes.
Blood Angels' heads.
Yes,
Perfect.
and I've used the Ashen Circle bodies because they're really, really dynamic. The problem with these, it does take a lot of work to filling all the gaps and making sure everything is smooth. It's well worth it, but it does require a lot of effort on your part to do this. I created this unit as sort of like the height of my mania for Blood Angels. I have about 25 of these guys.
25?
25 of them, yeah. Because this is at the time where you can take Dawnbreakers as troops.
Yeah.
I think that was the thing when you took Sanguinius. Okay, I'm just going to do a Dawnbreaker army. Perfect. I'm going to paint them as, but I wasn't sure whether to paint them up as Dawnbreakers or Sanguinary Guard. So I think I'll be painting these guys up as Sanguinary Guard and just rolling with it.
So, in my experience, regardless of there being Sanguinary Guard rules, if you put down a unit that is jump packs, looks special, happens to be painted gold, and just go, they're Dawnbreakers, mate. I've never encountered anyone that's got a problem with something like that.
No.
Like, yeah, I mean, I spent a year and a half using my Iron Warriors army with Alpha Legion rules, so I think this is that would be a very minor stretch rather than a large stretch.
I don't really go to tournaments for that very reason. All the people I play with are very laid back. They're more interested in like the lore side of things. Okay, so if you turned up with Iron Warriors using his Alpha Legion, I wouldn't think, oh, this guy's a power gamer. I'd be more intrigued over the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, so basically, mine was I'd been watching Enemy at the Gates a lot. So I'd got hordes of I'd got like a militia allied detachment, and I'd been watching like various sort of like Stalingrad and city fight films, even like up between like Black Hawk Down and Down to Bomb, where you're like sneaking about the city. So I've got my Alpha Legion rules representing just infiltrate for the Iron Warriors because they've been ground down in the combat, and then I had like weapons teams as my rapiers, like modeled like the basically Marines in Steel Legion weapons team poses. So they were like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so no one had it, but what I'm saying, and I think it's a reflection of the community as well, is no one had a problem with it.
You used the rules to serve your story.
Yeah.
You weren't using the rules to make you more competitive. That's the key difference there.
Oh, I lost a lot of games with the army. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, it wasn't. It didn't result in a whack. Sort of.
Yeah, and you know what? Weirdly, I don't know why I've got in my head recently, but I've got a real lust for Steel Legion. I'm getting the compulsion again to collect a new Imperial Guard army, even though I've got the Krieg down there, I've got the Praetorians, I've got the Vostroyans still in box. But there's just something about Steel Legion.
Have you seen the Steel Legion on Instagram?
Do they use the Krieg miniatures?
And like green stuff and like even the Kill Team boxes and everything.
Look phenomenal. I want that nostalgia hit again of just getting, you know, I've been looking at this on eBay, trying to see if there's one, like the Armageddon army box with a Steel Legion in. Do you remember that?
No.
It's that.
I think
I want.
I joined around the time, so I was just painting individual Space Marine bikes because they were the cheapest set around that time. Like I was sort of like that age at Armageddon point.
So if anybody does have an Armageddon Steel Legion box or army and we're thinking about selling it, please don't contact me because I will purchase just boom on a whim.
And then please sit on it and never paint.
I'll never paint it, yeah. Maybe put it on the background. I mean, create a nice background filler, right?
Yeah, I was looking at my background actually today because I was like, oh, I need to get some fairy lights and maybe a flat. I need to put like some brick style wallpaper just against that wall so it looks more industrial.
Yeah,
a bit more style. Yeah. So shall we get on to the next piece of news?
What other news have we got? Necromunda, who keep knocking it out of the park. Jesus Christ. I'm so excited for Necromunda Secundus.
Well, the ruined board set that we sort of speculated about, it wasn't just someone with a lighter attacking. Well, it sort of was someone with a lighter attacking a ZM set.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they've got these very ruined ZM tiles, which I'm really the main bit I'm excited about is the bridging section of pipes.
Mm-hmm.
So, give me a sec. Right, so I've come back on with the first pictures. I actually started making at the start of COVID. I was sat in Australia, we got there a week after COVID hit, and I weirdly taken in my in my check-in luggage. I was like, right, it'll be a bit because we were emigrating, me and Emma.
Right.
At the start of COVID hit it, and then we had 3 months sat in suburban Brisbane.
Uh-huh.
With the only thing to do is walk to the shop, play Team Fortress 2, and make a ZM because I'd taken a ZM with me. So this is one that I made and started making a sort of a 3D ZM with a bit more chaoticness to it, if you know what I mean, just random things dotted about. So it's not progressed since I actually got home, other than being spray painted silver.
But it looks so good. Like drilling out the tile and putting stuff through it. I've seen people drill them out and put toilets inside them.
Oh yeah, it's all that sort of inspiration was being massively used within this project, and
so good.
It's something like this new set will feed into doing this with people's ZMs in a much easier way. Because say that fourth picture that I sent you, the amount of time that's up on the screen for all the viewers now, the amount of time, and anyone that's not watching, that's listening, it's just back in the Instagram, you'll see a ZM that's a Games Workshop style ZM plastic. That took days to do, a couple of days to work out how I wanted it to look. Chip out that hollow pipe, then with pipes through it that are then coming out. That took days. So to make a full ZM, I was planning on making sort of a 4 tile, but as high as it was width.
Yeah.
So these very dense. That would give you the playable area. So I'd love to finish it. It's just the time and this new set will allow that.
Yeah, when it comes to terrain, I wish I had more time to dedicate to it. So I've been looking at. Hold on, bring this up. Hold on.
Yeah, so we're back recording.
Hello.
What is this?
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great. So this is by a company called Battle Systems, and they do sort of pre-painted plastic terrain, but to a very high quality.
Pre-painted.
Pre-painted, yes. It's printed onto the cardboard.
Okay.
It doesn't look anywhere near as good as the ZM stuff. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as the stuff that you do yourself. But for somebody like me, who I'm painting constantly anyway, to just buy that, whack it on the table, and then fold it away, it's good. But yeah, I wish I had some just guy locally to me who all he does, he had sort of this little bent in his thought process.
Yeah.
And all he does is ZM terrain, Rain Man of ZM terrain. But,
it's weird. It's an addictive thing to get into. Do you know what I've once? I don't know whether it was on the cast I said, or my favourite thing to do is sort of world building, and it's why I love running events.
Yeah.
More so than gaming, more so than digesting the stories and then translating that into a world is my favourite thing to do. And that ties into gaming, that ties into painting, but making terrain, I love. I've just not got time for it at the moment. So.
And when you look at places like Necromunda and Mordheim, the board is as much, in fact, even more so of a character than the miniatures you put on them.
Yeah.
So having a good board tells a much, much better story. It's just that thing I haven't. Maybe when I retire, like I desperately wish I, because when you look at people doing Necromunda terrain online and more time terrain online, you just, especially when they put like LED lights in it, that's like rubbing my nipples right there. When they put LED lights on a Necromunda board, I freak out.
Oh, mate, I went to a Mordheim event. Hull City of the Damned is called. I think they're doing 2 a year now. For anyone that wants to get involved, Hull City of the Damned, excellent event. But their terrain is, I think, the best at any event I've ever been to. Obviously, apart from my own, but that's not
Apart
true.
from your own, yeah.
That's not true. It's the quality of terrain at that event for the main boards is absolutely incredible. Let me pull up a picture. So this is an example of the board I think they've got 5 or 6 of these boards. We're looking along the river now, and then from the side shot of just like a fully landscaped and built-in board with little posters that you can see down here. This board actually has like a caverns that if you roll your dice down it comes out the other side, just down a sewer, and it just actually excellent quality terrain. And as you were saying, in these skirmish based games that the setting is so important, they are as important as the miniatures that you produce.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's just really good examples of it. And back to the topic, I suppose, these Necromunda sets I'm so in favour of for the ZM. It works for Heresy. It adds so much to the actual game of Necromunda. And just intermixing all of these sets. I think there's an old Twitter post from how they were originally designed of how this and the Ashway set and the like precinct sets, the Hive Markets, are all based on the same heights and widths, so they all interlink. Is just absolutely brilliant. I would be really upset when this stuff gets discontinued because it's so good.
Same, yeah, same. Necromunda, cannot wait. So we hell, I'm going to announce it now. We are planning on a hobby weekend. If it manages to be released on a time that's convenient for all of us, we would love to get together, just a group of us. We're going to be painting the set on the Saturday and playing through, well, hopefully all the scenarios on the second day. Fingers crossed. But all depends on when it's been released. All depends on whether we could organise it. All depends on if Max doesn't mind ditching his bride-to-be on his wedding if it's released that weekend.
Oh, it's a second marriage, Miles. It's a second marriage.
Second marriage. Oh, there you go.
Second marriage to the same woman as well. So the first one obviously was in December. It's not like my second wife. We got married in December and then this is the English wedding. So she's going to Amsterdam 2 days before the wedding for 2 days. And not even on a hen, it's just I fancy just like I'm going away to Amsterdam to a tree nursery.
Right, okay.
So yeah. And Dom, hey Dom, is staying over at my house for a week before the wedding. So hopefully I'll be able to just come down and play Necromunda if it gets released 2 days after.
Fingers crossed. That'd be the dream, right? That would be the dream. Yes. So anything else in news that we need to go through?
I think that is it. Because a fair amount of news for today, including the Riven Hound sort of talk.
Yeah. War Machine was taken over by a different company, but that happened last week. It is big news, even though Max doesn't think it is. And it's something non-Games Workshop to throw in there as well. Right, should we go on to the main topic?
You know what? If it was Bolt Action got taken over by someone else, I'd be like, what? But War Machine, I know people say it was big, but I'd like to see some fucking sales numbers to confirm yes or no. Was it ever actually going to take over Games Workshop?
It's
or
big
did it just
news.
feel big?
Just because it isn't Games Workshop, Max, doesn't make it not big news.
I didn't say just because.
I know you're
if it was Bolt Action, if it was when Dropfleet Commander went away, or like died a death, when Flames, all of these things, it's news.
It's
War Machine
Hobbyhammer,
is just
not
my
Games Workshop Hammer.
I don't think it is. It's just War Machine's just meh to me. Tournament based dog shit.
Yeah. Well, it's been taken over anyway.
Anyway,
Primarchs. Let's argue about Primarchs.
Rather than the validity of a game system. Yeah, so last week we left off after like sort of half of the Primarchs, just under half.
Yes.
We've got Kurz in S. We've got Vulcan and Russ in A.
Uh-huh.
We've got Perturabo, Mortarion, and the Lion in D. And we've got Magnus and Lorgar in E. Now, did you, Miles, get any messages about this?
I did. A couple of messages on the video. Nothing as personal as what you got by the sounds of it.
I just got a few messages that how could we put Vulcan so high? You're an idiot, Miles.
Yeah, that's a nonsense one, because those are comments from people who have never held the miniature in their hand and cradled it like a baby. The sculpt is outrageously good.
Yeah, we got Perturabo is too low. Though
he's too high in my opinion.
No,
B
definitely
tier.
not. Definitely not.
In the pantheon, he needs to sit towards the bottom.
The amount of golden demons that have been won with Perturabo, we definitely put him too low. There's something there that we think we've not taken into account. We've got the Lion is too low, which frankly everyone's wrong about. It should be in E.
I think it's, where have we put this? A C?
It's D. We've got S, A, D, and E.
S, A, D, E. Oh, that. And he's in D, you said?
Yeah. And he
he is
deserves
too
to
low.
be in E. He's not too low.
He is too low.
I
agree with the haters there.
No. I tell you what, we will shuffle them at the end. The next one may be immediately contentious. Sanguinius.
Ooh, this is a big one.
This is an immediate.
Okay.
This is an immediate big one.
Phew. Okay, cast your mind back to the first time you saw this sculpt. When it was released on Warhammer Community, that first snapshot that you saw Sanguinius. What was your immediate opinion of it?
The face is weird.
I want to like it more. Yeah, my initial impression is I want to like it more than I do.
Mm. Do you know why I think it is? And it's a similar thing to the Lion, or at least this is what it was for me. The flow of the model, pose-wise, is jarring. Not in the way of, say, like the Lion, where it's halfway through doing what he's doing, but the pose is jarringly unnatural. Just the sweep of, like, it's like, do you know when you... I'm not going to be able to hear you for a sec, Miles, because I'm going to have to take my headphones. But do you know when someone walks like that, and their hands are going at the same time as their feet? Like you move your right hand with your right foot forwards, and the left hand with the left foot, and you sort of walk like your hand is attached to your foot.
Yeah.
No one does that, but that's what he's doing here.
I want to like the sculpt a lot more than I do. There are certainly problems with it. So the face is one. I think overall he's too small. Like he's just not big enough when you compare him to the other Primarchs. He's dutty. He's very, very small, very slight. When you compare him to someone like Korax, who is in that big dynamic pose, but he's a little bit more filled out. So Sanguinius at his heart, I think, is a little bit too small and frail and slight to begin with. The details of it are again outrageous. It is one of the best sculpted Primarchs, but it's not the best posed Primarch.
Yeah.
So there's a distinction there.
Yeah, so I agree with you on the sculpting of the details. It fits in with the Sanguinary Guard model,
Halo, chest, the lion pelt. Oh, sorry, the jaguar pelt, Carnodon pelt.
Yeah, is it Dante who's also the gold armored?
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits really well with like that throwback of a model at the point this was released, because he hadn't been re-released. The size I half get, like he might be a bit small, but it sort of keeps the proportion of the wings down to be believable, and to have these humongous wings that would be so big. So I can half see scaling down the body so it looks believable that he could fly with those wings. Is one of the things. So I'm not as upset about the actual scale of Sanguinius, and we'll just go off for a second while Miles dies. Miles has recovered and we're back.
Oh.
So yeah, I think it's the size of the wings would need to be obviously proportionally scaled up. So if Sanguinius got say like 10% bigger or 10% chunkier,
yeah,
the size of the wings needed to carry it up. Obviously, none of it makes sense anyway because he's a guy with wings. His chest would need to be massive, but to hit the eye right.
Yeah.
And do you know, and be proportional to like drawings of angels that you see with wings.
It wouldn't be that much of a problem because the wings are 3D sculpted. Only Sanguinius's body.
Oh, I just mean in as part of a Primarch model that's going to be used on a table, or rather than actually because actually sculpting it is, well, we're all going to pay 75 quid or 80 quid for this model. Just fucking sculpt it bigger. Like the challenges of sculpting it are sort of outside that. It's more moving it about as a gaming piece, and I know it's a character series for display as well. But even like the wings breaking under their own weight.
No, I get it. I mean, anybody who's dealt with Fulgrim Transfigured knows that issue. Absolutely. And ultimately, I think that the sculpt just has too much to do. So not only does it need to look great individually, but it has to look great as part of that scene that they decided to, like the demon they decided to put him on. Again, great idea, but I don't think it quite works as a standalone piece with the scenic base with it. I don't think it stands alone because a lot of the detail, a lot of it just doesn't flow right. But I don't think it stands alone individually either. It seems that they just tried to do too much with this miniature.
Do you think it was a case of like the designer designed it and then like whoever's in charge like do more with it, just do more? It wants a demon.
I think they wanted to make this sort of like the premier Primarch because I mean in all the lore, Sanguinius has so much like build up behind him. Like he's the most beautiful Primarch. Like he's the most majestic, most awe-inspiring. So let's produce a base in line with that. Let's do something really special. I do appreciate the effort and like for it, but I wish the brief would have been simplified to just produce a Sanguinius that worked on his own, and then maybe release something down the line, working all in conjunction with each other. For me, I just think too much is going on.
Yeah, well, I think that's been our thoughts on all of the scenic bases, like with the exception of
because
no, I mean the actual like where they work together with another model. So say like Russ and Magnus, we both sort of agreed that it didn't really work. It's a nice little thing to just plonk them on, but it's not so much aggrandizing the models.
Yes.
The Fulgrim Ferris one I think works much better than any of the others.
Yep,
but you still don't like the actual flow of that scene.
They need to be closer together to give that impact to the scene. But
anyway,
you're caught between a rock and a hard place for that, right? Because you want to do something individually that's scenic, but then put it together. It's I can't rightfully criticize the sculptors or the designers for that because it's a nice idea. I'm glad that they took the time and the effort to give us that.
Yeah, but the thing
Sanguinius.
I'll say what I was going to say on Ferris.
Oh,
where are you placing Sanguinius?
So we have S tier, A tier,
D, and
E tier, D and E. D.
High or low D?
Low.
I would go E. I'll put. Do you know what? And this is why. So when the comment came, the message came about Perturabo being so low, I put him low so that we didn't have to fight so much when I was like, Sanguinius is fucking terrible, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't say E because it just feels like shooting Lenny in the back of the head. I can't say those words.
I'll put Sanguinius in D if we have
Yeah.
a serious conversation about Perturabo moving to low A.
Let's go back to it. Let's circle round on that one.
Yeah. I don't
Yes.
mean right now. I don't mean right now. I mean in the final
Let's
shuffle.
circle back on that one.
Right. So Sanguinius goes low D.
I desperately. It is a phenomenal. It is such a good sculpt. It's
Do you know what? He's.
I know it's a
I should
marvel
like
as well because
even I want to like it, and I am so traitor in my allegiance. It hurts. I'm so biased. Ask anyone that's ever come to any event with me. I'm fair, but you're never going to get me to say pretty much anything good about a loyalist Primarch because I'm so biased. Whereas I really want to like this model. It's such a good storyline that he goes through.
Yeah.
Other than repeating "I do not die today," like it went on
it
went on for too many books. If it had only been a couple of books,
and what's weird, there is a scene where he's coming in on Imperator Titan. He's dropping on, and his Sanguinary Guard are around him.
Yeah.
And he says like, "I'm not going to die." But the weird thing is, like, he's chanting to himself, "I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die." But all his Sanguinary Guard around him are getting popped.
Yeah, I'm not going to die. And they're just like, well, not about us.
And it's a presentation like, oh, this guy really cares for his children, really cares. He's one of the few Primarchs. Like, I don't die today. And like all this. Anyway, a weird scene.
Yes.
I desperately, but I have to say, like an engineering piece as well, phenomenal, because something that should feel like it tips over all the time, you put on the base, those big wings, for whatever reason, it doesn't tip. It's a really well-structured, well-oriented miniature. Yeah. But okay, I feel like we've talked Sanguinius.
So we've got Jaghatai.
Okay.
Shall I go first, since you went first last time? Right. I like the Jaghatai miniature more than I feel I should. Because the flow of the model is great between the... And I'm always talking about the flow of these models within this. I think it's the single most important feature within the composition of a piece. Because I think you can get round a lot of the other challenges. The flow of the model is great, and I think it does a lot of work for making up for something that I think is a bit actually overwrought. Like, I think the amount of detail in there is just too high. Like, if we look around the chest piece, there's so many layers. Like, you've got the chain going down to the lion, going down to like the layered mesh, then going presumably like underneath the mesh because it's segmented, and you've also got either side of the chain, you've got the droopy dangly horsehairs, the blue horsehairs, and there's just so much busyness within various pieces. Your eye almost doesn't know where to go.
Okay, yeah.
Saying that, I really like, and the face. I think the face is just maybe a bit too flat. Like, as in, like, the amount of detail on it isn't deep enough for a sculpted model. Saying that, I really like it. Like, as I say, more than I should.
It feels like with this miniature, yeah, everything you said is right. It's true. It feels like it should be a lot more clustered than it is, but it just all hangs together really well. And we talked about just the feel of it as you're painting it. This miniature has a really, really nice feel. Painting it, it's an absolute joy to put together, to paint, and compositionally all works with the scenic base. The white tiger Dao, gorgeous to paint. The face, you can make of it what you will. Weirdly, even though he's described as being like this sylph-like character, he is much, much chunkier than Sanguinius. But okay, I need to let that go. I just need to let it go at this point.
Yeah.
He's much chunkier, and much chunkier than Angron as well. This for me is one of the better sculpts in the series. Gorgeous detail, Oriental themed stylisticness on it. I'm broken after Sanguine, yes, I'm really broken after it. Yeah, Jaghatai Khan, I really like this sculpt. Really nice brush feel when you're painting it. Good representation of the character. Where should we put it? Where's your heart feeling? Just
I want
instantly?
to go A.
A, okay. Now instantly it gets demoted to the one below, to D.
Why? Just because I demoted Sanguinius?
No, because it's not a jet bike. Instantly, whatever one we're going to go for goes to the one below because it doesn't have the jet bike to it. He is the master of speed and like lightning warfare, and he is one of the slowest miniatures in the White Scar army.
Right, because there's lots of ways to get around that, like putting like, I think Pete Rees has done like a Samael's jet bike on the back of his base. Mm-hmm. Lots of people have done stuff like that. But we can't
judge the sculpt based on what other people are bringing into it.
Yeah, but surely we can't judge the sculpt based on... Surely we can't judge the sculpt based on, like, well, he's got rules on foot and a jet bike and they've just not done the jet bike yet.
I'm judging it because it's not a fair representation of the character.
I'm happy to put it in one lower then. Because also I said I like this miniature more than I think I should because of the busyness. So I'm happy to go one lower than I'm thinking.
There's a lot in D at the moment, aren't there? We'll have to separate these out a little bit towards the end.
Yeah. Where would you agree with A going to D then?
Yeah. It's a great sculpt. Just it needed a jet bike. It so desperately needed a jet bike.
Do you think they could really successfully have done a jet bike though? Because the limiting of poses of the legs, this is what I think is very hard.
I mean, me as the consumer, that's not my consideration. Represent the character as he's given in the lore.
I don't care whether it'll look good. I just want the jet bike.
I think it can look good. Yeah, I mean, you give these sculptors a brief, they will make it look good. Look at. I mean, I was going to mention one of my favorite sculpts in the series then, but yeah, just look at the other characters in the series. Yes, these guys are really highly skilled artists. They can make it look good. Yes, they absolutely can.
Go on. What is a really good model on bike?
On bike. So you have
do you know what?
Primarch Chaplain.
Okay.
That's a really good sculpt. You have the old
Primarch level good? Where you've got all these interlaying elements.
If you dedicated the amount of resources towards a Primarch, towards a yes, it would be.
I mean, like with the lack of like legs and how something is planted upon the world. Sounding like a dwarf
the Akira
now,
style,
but
like the Akira style slide.
Oh, like leg off the side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right, fine. Good.
It
good
can
point.
work. Again, for me, as the consumer, I shouldn't be worried about that. I should just go, yes, I want a representation of the character. I want it to look cool.
If they'd have done a jet bike and then it'd have been dog shit because they didn't achieve something amazing with it, we'd be like, oh, new category, F, into that.
Well, I guess we'll never know because it never happened.
Surely it will. Surely, right after Iron Havocs.
Yes, yeah, right after Havoc, yeah.
So, next one, Horus.
Ooh, which picture do you have up? Original Horus or Horus Ascended?
So we're going to rate them both because I've got them both in here.
Okay.
So, should I put them both up at the same time? Or do you want to talk about them both jointly?
And then we'll rate them both at the same time. We could kind of like juggle between them then.
Yeah. Let's do that. So, you start. I started last time.
Original Horus. S tier. Upper high S tier, like breaking through the beyond S tier. This sculpt is everything you want from a representation of a character. It has the most amazing flow, composition, detailing, framing of face. You have like and it can be posed in so many different ways. He can be looking off along the site of World Breaker as if he's looking towards the future, as if he's this great imperial general. You could paint him in Lunar Wolf colors. He becomes an inspiring character. You can have his head cocked slightly off to the left, where he's looking dead on center. Again, still magisterial, commanding, a general in his pomp. Or you can frame the head slightly downward, where he's looking at his claw, where he's a lot more menacing. He is the War Master as he's turning towards chaos. Just with that slight movement of the head, you get so many different characteristics. You get so many different opportunities to tell a goddamn. I'm so enthusiastic about this miniature. The base, the ruined Imperial Eagle head, so many different layered meanings to it. Is he the protector of the Imperium? Is he the destroyer of the Imperium? How many times have you seen that base be used on other miniatures, be used on dreadnoughts?
I've used it on terrain, yeah.
Terrain.
Amazing.
Yeah, the composition of the miniature, phenomenal. The feel of it under your brush, nice, big, thick paneling. Unbelievable, just very, very good feel under the brush. Very different ways you can tackle it with the brush, airbrush. You can do the underlighting to the face. You can not do that. You have that gorgeous fur on the back. You have the detail of like the king's heads that he's slain on the back of his cloak, threaded in between the fur of the wolf cloak.
Let me respond to some of these.
Sorry, yes.
So
go ahead.
I agree with all of what you've said, including the where we're ranking it, right? I think even the characterization of, like, when you said about the trophies on the cloak, that's got like the wider character point even of even if you painted him as a lunar wolf, there's that air of menace about
maybe?
Yes. Like noble barbarian or menace in the background, because like skulls chained to a cloak, you don't see that on Sanguinius.
No.
The posing, the flow of the model with the cape is amazing. It's actually like, again, a really, really good cape that's just there. And I think that the changing direction of the face with the sweep of the cloak as well as the sweep of the eagle head on the base, all going in the same way, leads to that sort of element of being able to change the head and entirely change the character, because it's whether they're looking backwards or forwards really comes into it. Worldbreaker, one of the cooler weapons within all the Primarchs. Do you know, like, he's a really, really nice weapon with lots of faces to paint as well.
Yep.
Do you know, as well as just the sculpting, to actually paint it.
The Talon as well. The Talon.
Now, the Talon I like, but I think I like it more on Horus Ascended. But that's something we can get to in a second.
Yep.
The wolf cloak is really, really well done. I think. What was we say? There was another one that we were saying about, like a wolfy cloak or something like that. You actually used Russ, and you actually used Horus's wolf cloak.
Yes.
As, do you know, an example of a much more well done cloak, wolfy cloak, and it's true. It's just so good. Are there any downsides within the model that you can see?
Being like ultra critical and nitpicky.
That's what we do
sometimes. Worldbreaker snaps off because it's right on the end.
No, get fucked. like we can't do that. I told you we can't rate the snappiness of a model within it. Just be more careful.
On his left hand, he has an Imperial Eagle printed on his vambrace, which, if you did want to represent him as the War Master of Chaos, you'll need to cut off. Some of the casting detail, like on the back of the legs, sometimes don't line up correctly. So there's quite a lot of cleanup work. But I mean, I am really searching for stuff just to give some manner of like balanced opinion here.
I think we, at that level of nitpicking, I think we can safely say S. I'll move Kerr's down one as well. I've just been ranking them up after, but I'll move Kerr's down, and he can go second on the
perfect Horus Heresy sculpt, and to knock it out the park for a character as pivotal as this.
You think we've blown our load? It's the perfect.
I think it is the perfect Heresy sculpt. Yes.
So Horus Ascended. What do you think of Horus Ascended then? How does it compare?
Love it. I love this sculpt. I don't think it's as okay. I don't think it's as good as the original Horus, but it's not saying that this is not detracting anything away from Horus Ascended, because again, the cloak is great. The detail, the claw, I believe is better. It's the better representation of because I'm more used to seeing the chaotic side of the Talon of Horus, where it's slightly curved, more cruel. There is an advantage that this was 3D modeled and sculpted because the casts are a lot cleaner when they come out. The wolf cloak is superb. It is an excellent. I think it's comparable to the original Horus sculpt. Cloak, good. I think the only minor thing I can say about the new Horus Ascended sculpt is that the face isn't as characterful as the first one, or it doesn't have that good brush. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
The brush feel, like that
feel,
near uncharacterizable brush feel.
I guess, I guess what I'm trying to say, like with Horus, the original Horus, you're able to style a head in several different ways. And the great thing is it's a separate piece, so you can use it in different conversions. Whereas Horus Ascended, you could only put it in that one place.
I don't think we can take that as a downside. Like,
No.
although it can be a specific benefit of normal Horus. I don't think we can mark down Horus Ascended because there is because we've talked before about there being one direct. When you look at a Primarch, there is one direction that it is meant to be. The golden angle. So if you put the head of any Primarch in a different location, it just looks weird because it doesn't go with
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. How about you? What are your thoughts on Horus Ascended?
I love Horus Ascended for all the reasons that I love normal Horus, except I don't think the flow of the model is as good, and I think that starts from the base, which although I think it characterizes Horus Ascended really well to have all those skeletons, but actually as a base, it adds nothing to the model. It's just a lump landscape that he's walking over that happens to be skeletons. Those skeletons tie into like the world's burning and him walking over it. That's great, but he's not adding anything to the flow or direction of the model like normal Horus's base is adding with that eagle.
Yeah.
So and that carries on down to the I actually really like the head. I like the chaoticness with all the wires and it being thinner and more hollowed out than Horus, and I think it's a really good comparison between normal Horus and Ascended, is that it looks more hollowed out and drawn than the more noble rounded head of original Horus the War Master. But I really like the head, despite the fact that it's only in one position. I like the claw more, but I don't like the pose as much. I like the more mobile pose, but it's not got the the directional shot. Do you know
weirdly,
the Kodak
do you know the golden
moment?
angle? Do you know the golden angle of Horus Ascended is?
I think we talked about this before.
It's on the front of the Beta Garmin book, where you're looking directly up at him and he's pointing Worldbreaker down at you. That's the golden angle of this miniature.
Which is a bit of a weird placement, right? Like, because largely as humans we are at between 1.5 and 1.8 meters tall, and who puts their Horus 2 meters in the air?
Yeah, who takes the pictures from that angle as well? I think it's the difference between a miniature that's being 3D modeled that may look magnificent in the 3D space, and then printing out. It still looks amazing, but it doesn't have that air of majesty that the original one does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Where are we putting this then?
I think S.
S or A?
I think S just down from where normal Horus is.
Same. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the base I think is a really good point, because it can, if you paint all those pieces individually, it can confuse the eye and it's drawn to the base rather than Horus. But overall, S tier.
Cool. Right, so we've got Horus first on S. And then Horus ascended second on S.
Horus.
Horus, and then the Night Haunter.
That's a good.
I think it's a strong S. You were a bit unsure about the Night Haunter last time, but have you come round a bit more to where the Night Haunter's been placed?
The more I've thought about it, the more it makes sense, because it's one of those rare examples where the base adds to the miniature rather than tracks. Yeah, I'm at peace with it being an S, and that means, so we've worked this out roughly, that we'll have 4 Primarchs in each category, and then kind of like 2 leftovers floaters.
So we'll actually.
So it'd be interesting to see how we reorganize this list.
We should have 5 in each category because of Horus ascended and Fulgrim ascended.
There we go.
That makes 20.
Okay, great.
So yeah, we'll actually have 5 in each.
Phenomenal.
So
we'll
have 5 even if
there's
say like
2 more slots.
Yeah, and D is at 5, but I think we still keep putting into D, and we just redistribute any that are
reorganized at the end. Yeah, agreed.
Next one.
Okay, what's the next one?
Guilliman.
Ooh, right. Okay.
You're first. I went Horus ascended.
Okay.
Oh, did I go Horus ascended? No, you go. You go.
Okay. At the same time, shall we say where we're going to put this ranking wise? Do you know where ranking you put this? Okay, on the count of 3, we're going to each shout out where we're going to go. Okay.
Can I let me ask a question first?
2.
Can I ask a question?
3. Ask the question. S.
I was going to ask, can I shave off that eagle off the front of his nipples? But no. I think the answer is no, isn't it? Because we just got to take it how it was sculpted.
No, got to take how it's sculpted.
Yeah.
S. S for me.
Really?
The thing that bumps up to S for me is that the base frames the miniature so well. I think miniature on its own, A, but then it bumps up to S because of the base.
Right. Let me name what else we've got to go, and let's see if you have.
Okay.
We've got Fulgrim ascended, Ferris Manus, Dorn, Corax, Angron, Alpharius, and we've got 2 spots left in S.
Yeah, S.
Go on, sell me on it then. Sell me on it.
S. Okay, so the widest regarded criticism of this is that it's a very static pose. But when you see representations of the emperors, they generally tend to be in this pose. They're pointing upwards. Oh, you pointed towards me.
No,
so you pointing upwards. Now, this is a classical sign of victory in the Roman world.
Yes.
Of almost like divine inspiration, which Guilliman is doing the same thing, but with a sword, pointing it up towards the sky. He's been modeled in the same aspect. I mean, we didn't mention this about Sanguinius, but it takes after like classical art, like representations of Michael and Gabriel overcoming the devil, and they've used the same framing for Sanguinius. But the sculptor here, I believe it was Simon who did this, used classical representations of the emperors to give that very classic imperial pose. Legs wide apart, statuesque, looking forward. This bright, heroic figure towards the future. Great representation of it. Details of the miniature. Whether you like it or not, you can't argue that the eagle on his chest is exceptionally well rendered.
It's not that I didn't like the eagle. I think it's really well done. It's that having that area of just a larger flat piece. It's one of the things is, as you said, on Mortarian, he's got negative space. One of the things that Guilliman lacks a little is large areas of negative space. And one of the ways that it can be achieved easily is just by chopping the eagle off to get a nice blend across it.
Okay.
So that's why it's not that I specifically like the eagle. It's the primary spot. I think Andy Wardle might have done it.
Yeah, he shaved it off and glazed it down. Yeah. I'm an eagle fan. I'm a big fan of the eagle on the chest. So his trousers on kind of like his skirt how they have the different U's, the Ultima symbols.
Yeah, yeah.
It comes on a separate resin piece they have to cut off and pray that it doesn't ping across the room. Yeah, it's but the detailing, even like the leather has been sculpted slightly cracked on it. You have all those little what are they called? Like the little laurels running up along his legs. The sculpt is exquisite. The detailing is exquisite. The pose is great. Backpack as well. Great iron halo. Phenomenal cloak. The amount of times I've seen his sword used in different conversions because it's just exceptional. The basing frames the miniature, tells the story. It's everything you want represented of that character. That's my pitch. That's my pitch for S.
Let's go S, because I can't. I think you've missed out actually, like on the model that we're displaying here. They've got an extra bit to the iron halo or something like that with an eagle behind his head. So it's a bit more busy around that area than that. But I think a lot of the Primarchs are quite busy. They're just big models, so can get away with it a bit more. There's no real massive arguments, I don't think. I just, like, with it going S, I just don't think it's up there with Horus and Kurz. It's just, like, the base is quite simple. So, although it frames the model quite nice, I don't think it's like a. I can't argue. I'm going.
It kind of has that Roman architecture feel to it, right? Like everything's level, everything's ordered, everything's in its place where it needs to be.
Yeah,
it's a representation of Guilliman's mind and how he perpetuates warfare.
I'll put an S, but he's going below Kurz.
Okay.
Like that's how that's happening. Mainly because Miles doesn't have any power over where I actually put them in the end. So because I am in control of this rankings
you
board.
You can put Robo and S at the end. Like, Horus ascended.
It might just be what happens.
Yeah.
So we've got Fulgrim normal, and I'm gonna leave Fulgrim ascended out for a second because I don't think it's not as comparable a model as Horus and Horus ascended were. They're so different.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go first? Do you want to go on point with Fulgrim?
So Fulgrim, I think it suffers from being an early sculpt. I think it was really nice at the time, but as we've progressed and sort of like the Heresy Primarch sculpting has matured, it's fallen by the wayside a little bit. Like it's very slender and almost has, weirdly, in when I've been saying like lots of these have too much detail, it almost doesn't have enough. It's got to the level of, like, say, a Palatine blade level of detail, which for Fulgrim, a very overwrought character, this is almost where, like, it should have too much filigree. We should all know it has too much filigree, and that's part of a character note. But it doesn't. And I think it's just because it's an early Heresy Primarch. The face as well, I don't think is brilliant. It's, it sort of looks too weathered for Fulgrim, the Phoenician.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has that class, that very the feeling of like classical beauty that isn't quite represented. This is Fulgrim. That's sort of like the peak of his emotional distress as he's about to whip the head off Ferrus. So he's screeching hysterically. He's almost out of control at this point. And I think the face is a good representation of that. But is it a good representation of Fulgrim as this perfect creature?
But I never picture it like that. Do you know even when they're on Istvan? And I know has the demon already taken over? But I just don't picture it as, it may be out of control, but as contorted and twisted
Right. Okay.
The projection of a demon of Slanesh is always alluring, even in the moments of battle, rather than
Sure.
completely broken down and horrific. And I think it's more that weighs out. Maybe that represents the demon, but to me, it doesn't represent the demon that is taking over Fulgrim.
Yeah. So the demon hasn't taken over at this point. No,
but he's in the process.
He gives his soul to it later. Great cloak. I think we can agree on that. Phenomenal cloak.
Yeah.
Great sword. Like you have the curved wicked edge, and you kind of have the corruption leading into the hilt, which makes it even more distressing that a lot of people were just replacing this with a regular plastic sword to represent Fireblade, which was better to use in game than the sword of Lear. So that was sad to see. Yeah, I agree with every point. Great base as well, like all those dead Marines. Really good. Kind of like look, and there's one Marine who's kind of like cocking his head up, but when you put in, it's like he's looking at Fulgrim just before like that will be his last image, because he's looking up at this creature of perfection that's fallen so far, and he's his last. I always paint him as an Emperor's Child, like he's just taking one last look at his lord before he dies.
Yeah, I actually bought a Fulgrim just for the base. Because I know you can construct like Marines, like dead Marines are very important to me as a terrained person. Having dead Marines around is brilliant, like storytelling features. So even though like rocks, you can make rocks out of anything. I think those actual
just
Marines
go out and
on
get
the
a
base.
rock.
Yeah, I know, man. You just glue rocks to a rock and then it's done.
Just get the rock.
Yeah, but how they frame Fulgrim characterfully, and it's obviously choice how you paint them, but taking what you've just said as a possible choice is brilliant for the character that they're trying to portray. Because we are just talking about, obviously, if anyone missed the last episode, like, why are you watching part 2? But if you're joining us for the second time on these Primarchs, we said we're not including like how someone has personally painted it, but I think the possibility of painting it in a certain way, having an option, we can take into account. And yeah, I agree with you. That's a real good character point portrayed within the model.
A or D?
I think D.
Yeah.
Like as I say, he's just let down by being an older Primarch.
I think on the review, I think it could jump up to A, but yeah, let's whack it in for D
so
for
you
now.
think high D?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking the opposite end.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that and come back to it.
I'm just going to put them at the end because it's D that we're going to be reviewing. So I think
D is going to be a stacked one. That's going to be a fist fight.
Spitting, and we are being very harsh on this because there's a lot of things like, do you know, like when people rank things, there's some of them. Primarchs, it'd be very easy to just be like, they're all in S because they're all great models.
Yeah, exactly.
We've
decided there needs to be an equal distribution of them throughout, just to force ourselves into difficult decisions here.
Yeah, and when we're looking at D, it's like, it's not even like, is this the tier? It's just what else is in D is Fulgrim particularly better than any of them. Right, Fulgrim Ascended. I know what you're. Can I guess what you're going to say?
S.
You're going to say S. Okay. I've not handled a Fulgrim Ascended in person.
Can you tell me reasons why it shouldn't make S?
None spring to mind. The base.
Great discussion.
The base
What's the next one?
Isn't adding anything. No, I've got no actual points. Like, the flow of the model's really good, which I always fucking harp on about, right? Everyone's sick of hearing me say that. I've not got any experience with painting it, so I just have to leave you to say whether it's nice to paint or not. And you're going to say it's fucking excellent, right?
It is excellent to paint.
The face, the demon face on Fulgrim transfigured. That's how Fulgrim's face should look to me.
Yep.
All the time. Like he's... Go on, tell me why it should be
cruel.
S. Be succinct. We both agreeing already. Why is it S?
Just look at it. Just look at it.
Because I think we reviewed Fulgrim transfigured actually a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, just look at it. That's what you need to do. Just look at it. It's S tier. It's one of the best sculpts Games Workshop have produced. It's a good representation of the character. For something like this, it's so easy for it to go wrong. I am more surprised that they knocked this out of the park than they got it right. Well, because just so many different elements could go wrong here. And Simon absolutely obliterated this character.
So I'm going to harp on, or at least bring up one of the points that you've made as something that's downgraded Primarchs up to now. What's the snappiness of that spear like, Miles?
It's not bad.
Oh, no way, you're lying. That can't be
weird,
good.
because it's so long, it's springy. You hit it, it springs rather than instantly snaps.
Fair enough. Right.
But snappiness does come in on the ends of the wings, like the little talons at the end. They can, I mean, especially like rub off, and transporting this miniature isn't the easiest thing in the world.
I see. I don't think we can take in the same way that I don't think we can take snappiness into account. I think
agreed.
We've got to compare them like they're on it. You've painted it and they're on a shelf.
Yes.
What?
I have to say the base is okay. It's not like the greatest base in the world, but on one of the fallen arches is written Saturnine, and just that little extra little detail. It's nice to see. It boosts up for me. Yes, S. Yeah. Solid S tier. Phenomenal sculpt. Great to paint. Everything you want.
I think, and that's S tier full now, Miles. So I think we're going to end up with an overstocked S tier, to be honest.
I think we have to knock down Kurz for a sculpt that's coming up later.
No way, Kurz. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I think I fought you a lot on Fulgrim Ascended last time we talked about him, whether he's like a pinnacle model. Like, I don't think we're putting him ahead of Horus.
No.
But, yeah, okay. Should I put him ahead of Kurz? I'm not willing to fight you either way.
Ahead of Kurz. I think he's ahead of Kurz. Yeah, purely because of they both very good sculpts. Both, I mean, you can make the argument they're both equally good sculpts, but just the engineering feat to create Fulgrim Ascended, I think it's much more.
No, does it look good? Does it look good?
Otherwise, I think it looks better than. I think it looks better than Kurz. I think it does look better.
He's ahead of Kurz. So
yeah.
Let's go next. Dorn,
right. Well, I mean, as an Imperial Fist lover, do you want to take Dorn? Is he instantly in E for you?
He's not instantly in D. No, he's... Sorry, in D or E. I actually... This is going to really pain me to say it. I actually really like Dorn. Like, some of the arguments that he's... Like, the main argument I ever see about Dorn is he's too static. And I never think a Primarch has to be in motion to be good. Because part of the character, he's a defender. If anyone is going to be static, it's Dorn. So it doesn't matter to me that personally that he's static or not. I really like the wind in the cape being so different to how he's posed. The face, I actually like it how it is. Everyone puts a blooming beard on it, or half the people put a beard on it.
Oh yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know why
fan art. It's not official. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why I hate it.
Right.
But I like it. He's got some good spaces on there for modelling. For painting. Sorry. I don't know how far I can actually describe it though. I'm not a hater of Dorn. I actually quite like it. But I've not got loads of words to say about it. Sorry, Miles.
E tier.
E?
Why?
E?
Because we need to put Primarchs in that category. It's not because I dislike the sculpt, but it's just some Primarchs need to go.
No, right. We're doing this at this point now. Right. These are the other Primarchs in D. Right. We've got shit Fulgrim. We've got Sanguinius. And we've got the Lion in D. You can't... You're not telling me...
E tier.
Surely that you prefer the Lion to Rogal Dorn.
I do. He's a lot more interesting to paint.
No.
He's a lot more
I don't. I like part of me just goes, I don't care about your experience painting, Miles. What's the end result? What's the end result when it's sat on my shelf? Like, not in that you're like a commission painter, but like
it's a okay. It's not as interesting. Okay, it suffers partly because of representations of it in the art. What he looks like, he is just like a big golden dude.
Yeah.
I think that this sculpt is based off the old John Blanche artwork, just a big golden dude where he's scowling. His face. So, like you rightly say, this guy is like the indomitable lost wall. But does his scowling face give that impression? Or should it be more stoic in representation? Again, we criticized Fulgrim for having those hard, detailed lines.
Yeah.
I think you can make the same observation with Dorn. Weirdly, the individual teeth being sculpted, it's hard to make it paint. It's hard to paint it without making it look like he's got like gaps in his teeth,
right.
or like they look. There's a lot of details just repeated on this miniature. So you have the Imperial Eagle on one side, and then the Imperial
Yeah, but he's boring. It's a character point. He's meant to be boring.
If he's a boring,
he's a boring dude. This is where my hatred of the fists come out.
He should be put in the lowest.
I'm just happy with him. No, it's because it's a good characterization of Dorn being a boring character.
Of being boring.
This is the flip side of my opinion on fists. Like,
so unfortunately, Mr. Boring does go in E tier then.
I'm not willing to die on this hill. Right, I'm not willing to die on this hill. We'll put him in E. But I'd like everyone out there to know that I'm not convinced he should be in E. He should.
Neither am I.
He should be in D. You're not convinced he should be in E.
I'm very.
So why are we
aware
fighting over him being in E?
I'm very aware we put a lot of Primarchs in D.
No, right. So what we'll do
when I'm critically evaluating this miniature against the range, there are certain things that pop up which drop him down the tiers, and I need to put him in E.
He's going in D. He's going low E, low D, and then what we're going to do at the end, we're going to quick fire rank who goes.
And he's going to be put down into E.
So we've got now 7 in D. We've got 5 in S and 2 in A and E.
So, Dorn's going to just drop into E.
And I'm giving him that chance. Fine.
I
he's going
don't dislike the miniature.
Fine. We've got 3 in E then.
I don't dislike the sculpt. I don't
Does he
dislike the
deserve
miniature.
To be down there with Lorgar and Magnus?
Deserve.
Does he deserve? To, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
You are smoking crack if you think that the Lion is in D.
No, he's a lot better miniature to paint, lot more interesting, lot more dynamic, more details to it. 100%. The Lion is a better sculpt over Dorn.
That's a hill I'll die on. Ferrus.
I feel like we stuffed ourselves a little bit here because he needs ideally. Considering we voted in one of the best miniatures.
Yeah, we literally. Like, I think we both put him in our Primarch list. In the top 10 miniatures of all time, I think we both put him in that list. And I think he deserves to be in
The problem here is we need to decide. I think, should we go through a discussion again over why he should be in S, or should we just skip over that and argue about who's going to drop down?
Let's do that.
Because it's going to be between, Yeah,
if anyone wants to know our thoughts, go in the top 10 miniatures of all time. We never said we weren't hypocrites and we reserve the right to change our minds, right?
Yeah. Now, the problem is he's in a 3-way tie between Kurz, Guilliman, and Ferrus.
I don't think it is a tie.
Which one of those drops down into A?
I don't think Ferrus has any chance of dropping.
Okay, so Ferrus, solid S. Right, okay. Guilliman and Kurz. It's a fight between those two.
If I don't... let's sort it this way, right? I have bent to the will of Miles on on Dorn. Drop Guilliman. How's that?
I think Guilliman's a better sculpt over Night Haunter.
He's just so flat. He's right. I'm putting Dorn in S. Right. This is what we'll do.
Dorn
I'll
in
side
S.
by. Not Dorn. Ferris in S. We've got too many Primarchs on the brain at the moment. Sorry. Right. Night Haunter and Guilliman side by side. Oh, let's do it at the end. We can have a... Ferris is going up the S. We've got Guilliman and Night Haunter face off at the end.
Okay.
We can sort it all out in a big game of fisticuffs.
Okay. That's going to be a tough one.
Corax.
A. If the S tier weren't as stacked as it was, I would be more inclined to put it towards that. It's definitely an upper A.
I think the base works. The model, the model works on the everything I'm going to say about flow of the model is there.
Yes, great representation of the character, great face. It's one of the few Primarch models where we actually see his gun drawn and using it. I think it was the right idea not to use the
whip.
The whip, yeah, purely because we're talking about snappability. Whew, like a whip done in resin.
Talk about snappability. You don't put those words in my mouth.
I thought it was the right call. And the guy's gunning down as well. Like what? Just that sculpt on its own, that dude falling back in gun, that was a phenomenal sculpt in and of its own.
Yeah. Is it part of his face?
Yeah, the wings coming off Corax, like really tastefully done. Where in a world where you have Sanguinary Guard wings, which do look a bit goofy, to have the wings work, triumph.
I'm happy with A.
Do we put him into S?
No, because do you think that he's better than Ferris?
No.
So do you think that he's better than Guilliman?
That's the thing with Guilliman and Kurz. I think if you rank Guilliman, Kurz, Corax in terms of just the sculpt, I think they're all pretty much on there. But it's just that gut feeling. What's
the gut feeling? Is that Corax is better than Kurz?
No. That I prefer the Kurz and the Guilliman sculpt over Corax.
Corax is
just because of that gut animal reaction to it. I can't explain it more than that. I can't. It might have something to do.
He's got the je ne quoi. There's certain I don't know what.
The X Factor. Yeah, I don't enjoy the character of Corax in the Horus Heresy. I don't enjoy the Raven Guard. I don't find them very compelling. So perhaps that kind of shades my opinion of if he had a more compelling storyline, maybe we push him up. But yeah, he just doesn't have that like gut animalistic.
The model's quite bare as well. The model's...
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Because we talk about over detailing.
If it pushed Dorn down, it's a reason we can justify Corax going to A. Is that it's a Primarch model,
with A.
And he's got large areas of studs all over him for no reason. Like, beyond what Perturabo has that we said takes away from the paintability of Perturabo.
I mean, Corax does have some nice sort of like tribalistic flowing details on the armor as well.
He's done, Miles. He's in A.
Done. A. Okay. I'm happy with A. I'm at peace with A.
So we've got Angron and Alpharius left. Angron's next.
How many people do we have in A?
Too many. 3. Sorry, A. 3 plus either Kurz or Guilliman. So there's 1 in A. But remember, some Ds might be moving up.
Yes. Okay.
We've got 6.
I want to put Angron in A for the time being.
You want to put him in A?
A. Let me justify it, because I know I'm going to cap a lot of heat for this, but cast your mind back to the first time you saw this miniature. To that I
No,
know.
no.
This is my opinion.
Go on,
I'm
go
going to
on.
give it. But this was the herald of the Horus Heresy. This was done in the scale of the miniatures at the time. It certainly suffers in retrospect, but if you just evaluate it as a sculpt, irrespective of the scale creep, and it is an A-star sculpt. You have the anguished rage of his face with the what they call the nails coming off it. The flow of the miniature, great cape. The base informs the story of the miniature, where he is at the time, like killing the miniatures around him. It's so packed full of dynamism and craft.
So we're saying
I mean, I'm just
it's a miniature of its time, but he doesn't suffer for it. I agree with you on the look of anguish on his face. I love the portrayal of the armor because it's great as Angron's sort of like the armor of Mars, isn't it? I think it's great for that portrayal.
I can't think of a better representation of Angron being rendered in a miniature. I think he's the perfect representation of that character,
he just needed to
of
be
the
a bit
lore.
Bigger.
Yeah. Ultimately, yes. That's why I think as a placeholder in A, but he could slip.
I'll go for that. Like, it's another one that I think I'm stupid for thinking so nicely of it. But I know that I shouldn't feel these, but I do. I am a bit of a liker
if you
of Angron. I
evaluate it,
just think I'm an idiot for it.
If you evaluate the miniature in a vacuum, it is a phenomenal sculpt. I mean, from like every single detail, just so well done, so well crafted, so well sculpted. It is a piece of miniature art in and of its own right. But yeah, you put it in context. That's when it starts developing problems.
Right.
Alpharius.
Last one. This is the last Primarch.
Yeah. The last Primarch.
Right.
Where do you have him?
He's going to have to be E, isn't he? We've got no other space.
Yeah. Not because. No, okay, so
I like Alpharius. Go on.
I think this is the worst sculpt of the Primarch series. I think this is the worst. But it's still a very. That's not to say it's not a very good sculpt. Yeah, I can certainly appreciate that. Just if we had to say that one was dead last, right to the very bottom, it would be this one. Yeah.
What? The worst?
The worst.
This is the worst.
This is the worst.
Worse than Fulgrim.
This is worse than Fulgrim.
And notice that Fulgrim's in D. You think this is... Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is stunned me. If I wasn't filibustering
for 1 to 20, yeah, this would be my 20th. Rather appropriately.
I'm just scanning the other models in there.
Okay, why? Right.
Go on. Yeah, go on.
Now, a lot of what I'm about to say is caveated with, well, that's the point, because because they are the Alpha Legion. This feels like they had a set pattern for, or like set STLs. They had like a package for Alpha Legion. So you had the Linnean Terminators done in the same style, and they've just used that exact same print, that exact same STL, copy and pasted it onto Alpharius with a few additions to it. It's a copy and paste job. It's very CAD design. It's the first Primarch I really felt where it's just so overwhelmingly CAD cut and paste from the rest of the range that it doesn't have the same magisterial aura around it that the rest of the Primarchs have.
Just based on, say, like you mean the scales on the armor being
scales
repeated
on the
across
armor?
all of the Alpha Legion?
Yeah.
You see, I really like that aspect of it. That's one of the stronger aspects for me.
Okay.
Like what do you think about the posing? What do you like? It ties in really nicely with its scenic base.
Posing's fine.
Like
nothing that makes me go like, oh. I mean, it's certainly a better pose than Sanguinius, say, but it's not. I mean, I guess it's again, it's the point of Alpharius. it's kind of a meh pose for me, because what else were you going to do with the spear? It's fine
they
for
could
what
have
it
done
is.
like more of a
They could
sort
have,
of a
yeah, but
sanguineous spear or like a.
they didn't. Yeah, it's a model that kind of slides over my mind. That like, yep, fine, it's there. There was a hole that needed to be plugged with this sculpt, and here it is.
Right, he's going in E, but I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm also not happy about it. I can't argue against it, but I just really and we're not evaluating what we like. We're evaluating what the
absolutely.
model is about, and I really like
still...
the Alpharius. I like the Alpharius model more than other models in that range, but I can't argue with you on any of the sculpts or anything like that.
But this is the last of an insanely strong category, and this miniature is still better than like 90% of other sculpts that exist in AOS, Necromunda, like all the other ranges. This is still a triumph of a sculpt, but it doesn't give me the same thrill. Even with Angron, even with Fulgrim and their drawbacks, I'd much rather buy those, paint them as a collector than I would the Alpharius sculpt.
Right. So we've got all the Primarchs ranked at this point.
Right. Okay.
Now we've got a couple of spots up for contention. Right. And this is how we're going to have to do this.
Okay.
We've got 6 in D and 6 in S, and we've got 4 in A and 4 in E. So one of the S's has to go down to A. And unless we're going to make an incredibly strong case for an A to go down to D, so a D can move up, it's going to just be dropping.
Should we work from the bottom down? Because it feels like Guilliman versus Kurz is going to be the title fight.
Like the title fight for the worst in S.
That's the main card. Yeah, let's deal with the undercard.
So first. Who moves down from D to E? Right.
Who's in D?
We've got Perturabo, but we all know he's not going to move down. We've got Mortarion, the Lion, Jaghatai, Sanguinius, the clear choice for moving down to E, or the Lion, I suppose, and Fulgrim. I think it's a 3-way fight. How about we do this? The Lion, Sanguinius, or Fulgrim, I won't fight you, pick one of them to move down. And then you can pick one of 3, and I'll move the one down from S.
Fulgrim.
Right. Are you happy with doing it that way? Because we'll be saying the same points, and I imagine we'll just reach loggerheads on this.
Happy's a relative term.
Will you be as equally put out as me in the next situation?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Right. Okay. So Fulgrim moves down, and the order on screen is not representative, except for Horus being where he is. The order is not representative of where they are in the category. Okay.
Apart from put Alpharius right at the very bottom.
Oh, fine.
And we have our north and south pole then. Sigismund to Erebus.
Right, so it's red left to right at the moment. Right, so in S, one required to move down. We've got Horus Ascended, Fulgrim Transfigured, Ferrus, Kurz, and Guilliman. Okay, do you know what? Let's not do it that way, because you are very passionate about Guilliman. And if you give me the choice, I'm just going to move down Guilliman rather than Kurz, and you're not going to like that. Do you know what? You're not going to like that, are you?
Can I put a throw a grenade in here? Is there a consideration to move Horus Ascended down to A?
We've got him higher. We said We actually said
I
before.
know what we said. But we've
Horus
also said we
Ascended was
hypocrites.
better than Horus Transfigured.
And we can change our minds. That's what we said. We said in the like
We
2
did.
breaths ago, we are hypocrites.
Right.
We are not consistent human beings.
Did.
So can there be a consideration? So
Is Horus
and we've got the
Ascended
3.
worse than Ferris?
I mean, you gave me the choice between the Lion, Sanguinius, and
Right.
Fulgrim. So that's my that's my triumvirate that I'm
Horus
posing
Ascended
towards you.
So we've got Horus
Ascended.
Fulgrim Ascended, Ferris, Kurz, Guilliman, and you're giving me 3 of them.
Guilliman, Kurz, Horus Ascended.
Horus
One has
Ascended
to drop
moving
down. What? What's the reasoning? What's the reasoning? Justify it.
Right. The only reason you've given Horus Ascended is because you're so desperate not to move down Guilliman.
Right.
So listen to the logic. Right.
All right.
So I think you've made a strong case for Guilliman being up there. The model captures what the character is about, between the pose, the armor being reminiscent of the historical parallels that Guilliman is part of, the noble features of the face, really good. Horus Ascended, every point we made about the model was that it was comparable to normal Horus, not special in its own right.
Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah.
It was that, other than me liking the face and you didn't like the face, every part, and I suppose the claw as well, but they're not big enough to keep it up. When Guilliman stands on its own, Horus Ascended isn't making its own case to be an S. It's that it's as good. It's the constituent parts of the model are as good as normal Horus, but normal Horus is better.
Wow.
And that I think is the same as Kurz. And do you know what? If I look at A, which we've got Vulcan, Rus, Corax, Angron, and Horus Ascended, and like Perturabo being below, or you're going to say the Lion, I imagine, in D, and making a case. I can't make a good case of why Horus Ascended shouldn't drop below them 2. Because although I don't like the Lion, you just as much don't like Perturabo, and the model not standing. And I really like that Horus Ascended model. I was actually just thinking, I was like, I'll make the point later that actually we really like 2 of the new models that are Ascended versions. And that's really nice that we can have a positive about the new
stuff.
Primarch.
Yeah, you're right.
And I thought that's really good. But and this isn't a criticism of Horus Ascended moving down. As a review of the models, it's doing nothing on its own.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Wow. Okay, didn't expect that.
It's a tray.
And that's it. That is our 20.
What a shocker. Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to think if there's any, so like that's our agreed upon list. If there's any just sort of like gut feeling what I would do differently, like regardless of...
If I wasn't here arguing against it.
Yeah, exactly. I might move Perturabo down and move either Lorgar or Fulgrim up.
Really? You see, I'd move Rus down. I'd move Rus down.
Who would you replace him with? Lion?
No, I hate the Lion. I'd move the Lion down. I think Dorn is better than the Lion. And I think
Dorn
Perturabo
should shoot up to like
Rus.
D/A?
Dorn to
like
D.
with your
Dorn. If I was just like reordering the list how I actually want it.
Yeah.
I'd do Rus down to D, Perturabo to A, Dorn and the Lion switching round. Actually, I thought. Well, it's such a nice model to paint. I know you hate the fact that the gold on Dorn is just like, he's a big gold bloke.
Just
I don't think
dude.
that same logic carries through when it's a silver. If you're doing like a non-metallic metal silver, it doesn't look too... There's almost like a richness within a gold non-metallic metal that when you do it across an entire model, not that I've not done that, but when I've seen it done, it almost looks too much. But because silver is more of a neutral or it's a neutral color, I don't think that carries through in the same way. I think you can do an entire model silver in non-metallic metal.
Okay.
And it's not then a negative for all being metallic.
Okay.
So I think it could, to me at least. I'm happy to leave it there for now because we've established 5555.
Sure. Yeah. This is our list. This is our baby.
Yeah. Go on. Give us
the best.
Give us the reason. What is yours? Why?
For...
Why would you be dropping Perturabo, or why would you be raising the Lion? Just as a quick note at the end.
I mean, it's not based on any kind of like logic at all. It's just I prefer the Lion sculpt over Perturabo. It's just as simple as that. I prefer that sculpt. If I had to paint another one tomorrow, I'd rather do the Lion rather than Perturabo. That's it. Because I feel like the justification for we've already kind of done that.
Yeah.
This is purely like where would I change it? It's because I prefer this sculpt. It's just that.
Yeah. Well, I sort of like how we finished this on a not this is the definitive list, because I don't think there is a definitive list. I think this is
this is nonsense.
And tell us why we're
the last 2 episodes.
Idiots in the comments.
Yeah. No, this is a nonsense episode.
Yeah.
We just wanted fun.
Well, it's every tier list ever, isn't it? It's just a bit of...
Yeah. It's daft. It's absolute nonsense, and it means absolutely nothing. So thank you so much for watching us for 2 hours, watching airy nothingness. I hope we have not offended.
Yeah. And everyone can go back to ragey drives to work now. More enraged.
Yeah. Punch a homeless guy in the street.
What?
What's that saying?
Where's that from?
Well, there's a saying that everybody's fighting a battle you can't see. Go and attack them. They'll be fighting 2 battles then.
And you've got the element of surprise in one.
And you have the element of surprise.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. So on that bombshell, we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, please don't do that, by the way. Bye.